You take one more step up those stairs, and I'll kill you.
What makes a movie villain unforgettable? Is it the cold stare, the calculated menace, or the sense that you're watching someone who believes every dark word they say? In 1989, when Tim Burton cast Jack Palance as Gotham crime boss Carl Grissom in Batman, it wasn't just random casting. Burton wasn't looking for a familiar face to fill space. He was reaching back in a Hollywood history to an actor whose presence had shaped what it even meant to play a villain. Jack Palance, with his sharp cheekbones, tense movements, and commanding voice, had been creating archetypes since the 1950s. Roles so powerful that they still echo through cinema today. And here's the secret most people miss. Burton chose Palance because his performances from decades earlier had already redefined what it meant to embody power, corruption, and fear. Today we're diving into the untold story of Jack Palance, how he built his legend in the so-called innocent 1950s, and how those roles created the DNA for villains we still see in movies today. But before we get started, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because on this channel, we uncover the hidden stories behind film, culture, and the figures who changed entertainment forever. Alright, let's get into it. The 1950s in America are often remembered as a decade of conformity, suburbia, and squeaky clean Hollywood productions. But beneath that glossy surface, filmmakers were experimenting, and actors like Jack Palance were breaking molds. Take Shane, 1953, one of the most beloved westerns ever made. Adapted from Jack Schaefer's 1949 novel, George Stevens directed it with an epic vision. He shot the sweeping landscapes of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, in one of the earliest widescreen formats, 1.66:1, giving audiences a breathtaking new cinematic experience. And at the heart of that film was Jack Palance as Jack Wilson, the hired gun. His screen time was limited, but his impact was massive. Every step he took, every glare he gave, carried menace. His walk, famously filmed in reverse to hide his fear of horses, made him look more threatening, almost otherworldly. Critics noted that despite Alan Ladd playing the title hero, it was Palance Wilson that haunted the audience long after the credits rolled. Shane wasn't just a western about frontier justice. It was a mythic exploration of violence, morality, and the price of civilization. Palance Wilson embodied the dark side of progress, a character type that would echo through decades of cinema. Something remarkable about Shane was its use of sound design. Gunshots weren't clean or polite. They were loud, echoing, even disturbing. The sound team used trash cans and wires to amplify the impact, pioneering a new level of cinematic violence. Palance fit right into that evolution. His presence symbolized that violence wasn't glamorous. It was inevitable, messy, and terrifying. And that set the stage for his next groundbreaking role. By the mid-50s, Palance took on one of his most powerful roles, Lieutenant Costa in Robert Aldrich's Attack, 1956. Based on Norman Brooks' play, the film was explosive, not just in its battle scenes, but in its political message. This was no flag-waving war movie. It was a brutal indictment of cowardice and corruption in military leadership. Palance played Costa, a fearless but wounded lieutenant forced to follow orders from Eddie Albert's Captain Cooney, a man who was politically protected but utterly incompetent. The tension was raw. Palance, a real World War II veteran, brought battlefield authenticity. Albert, ironically, was also a war hero who had rescued 70 wounded Marines at Tarawa. Yet here, he was playing a coward. The clash of performances gave the film an electric edge. The Pentagon hated it, calling it anti-American and refusing to cooperate. But audiences and critics recognized its honesty. Lines like, I'm gonna shove this grenade down your throat, and pull the pin, seared themselves into memory. Costa's crushed arm beneath a tank remains one of the most unforgettable revenge arcs ever filmed. This wasn't the clean, heroic 1950s Hollywood wanted to sell. This was cinema tearing down illusions, exposing the cost of betrayal, and Jack Palance stood at the center of it. These performances, Wilson and Shane, Costa in attack, cemented Palance as more than just another actor. He became a symbol of cinematic menace, the prototype for the calculating villain and the vengeful anti-hero. That's why filmmakers like Aldrich kept casting him in roles where his intensity could shake audiences. The Big Knife, 1955, a scathing critique of Hollywood corruption, or later films like The Dirty Dozen and Too Late the Hero. Each role added another layer: cold calculation, wounded rage, icy menace. He wasn't just playing characters, he was shaping archetypes. So fast forward to the late 1980s. Tim Burton is reinventing Batman, bringing a darker, more gothic vision of Gotham City to the screen. He needs a crime boss, a figure of power and corruption, someone who can tower over even Jack Nicholson's Joker. Who better than Jack Palance? By casting him as Carl Grissom, Burton tapped into 3 decades of cinematic memory. Audiences might not have consciously remembered Shane or Attack, but they felt Palance's menace. His presence gave Gotham's criminal underworld authenticity and weight. Think about it. Grissom isn't even the main villain, yet his short time on screen defines the mobster archetype in Burton's Gotham. That's the power of casting an actor with history in his bones. Jack Palance wasn't just a movie star. He was a bridge between the so-called innocence of the 1950s and the darker, more complex cinema that followed. He showed that villains could be more than cardboard cutouts. They could be mythic, terrifying, conflicted, even tragic. His influence runs through modern film villains, whether it's the cold professionalism of Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men, the wounded rage of Michael Shannon's characters, or even the operatic menace of comic book villains today. And that's why Tim Burton knew what he was doing in 1989. Casting Palance wasn't nostalgia, it was recognition. Recognition that some performances don't just belong to the past. They echo forever. So next time you watch Batman, or revisit Shane in Attack, remember, you're not just watching Jack Palance. You're watching the man who helped define what a villain could be. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Jack Palance's legacy, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss our next story. We've got more untold histories of film legends, forgotten performances, and the cultural shifts they created. Drop a comment below. Which Jack Palance performance sticks with you the most?